What's going on, YouTube? This is One Handy Dude. Welcome back to my shop. I recently made some nightstands for my bedroom, and I also like to drink some tea at night before going to bed. It helps me sleep peacefully and stay asleep. And so, in an effort to keep the beauty of the finish on my nightstands, I think I'm going to need some coasters to protect it from mug rings and any sort of drips that I might have, because let's be honest, I'm not always the tidiest. So we have some black walnut over here, some sapele, correct me if I'm wrong on pronunciation over there. We've got some maple, some cherry, and some mahogany, which is actually from an old bed leg that is no longer needed, and I want to cannibalize the wood to see if I might be able to use that. So let's get to it. I'm going to try a new style of video here by incorporating voiceovers in an effort to provide you with a more comprehensive understanding of my processes. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please drop a comment below and let me know whether you're enjoying this new narrative style or if you'd prefer the simply witness the woodworking magic unfold. Currently I'm at the table saw ripping all the wood I'll be using. My target thickness for these coasters is a 1/2 inch, so I've set my table saw to 5/8 because I'll be planing these down after the glue up. All the wood I'm using is scraps from previous projects, so they've already been through a proper milling process. However, I'm running everything through the planer once, just to be certain everything's flat and square. I realize I could have done this before ripping everything down to width, but in this case, it doesn't really matter. Returning to the table saw, I grabbed about half the rips of each species. I've rotated them sideways, so everything's now 5/8 of an inch tall and varying widths. I'm ripping some of these to 1/8 and some to 1/4 of an inch. There really is no strict method to this. If I have multiple pieces of the same species, I might rip a handful of them in both sizes, I might not. In the end, I'll let the aesthetics guide me, ensuring I have pairs of each size and species for symmetry, weaving together my very own tapestry of woodwork. Now that I have all my pieces cut, it's time to explore different layouts to see what's aesthetically pleasing. There really is no right or wrong here. I just take my time and enjoy the process. My target width's usually between 4 to 5 inches, so I take this into account once I've settled on a pattern and adjust as necessary. Since I'm working with varying lengths of wood, I'm using the miter saw to cut down the long pieces as needed. Once I have my layout, I'll mark the top with a triangle as a visual cue to ensure a seamless reassembly at glue up. This simple yet effective technique allows me to, at a quick glance, confirm that everything is in its rightful order. It is worth mentioning a strategy I employed, a battle planer snipe. I intentionally leave 2 outer pieces protruding by 2 to 3 inches on each side. This ensures any snipe that would occur ends up on the extensions instead of the coasters. Moving on to the glue up, I rotate every piece except the last towards me and spread glue along the tops, making sure to get good coverage. Then flip each piece back and align them, referencing that triangle I drew earlier. And then throw some clamps on it, remembering that clamping doesn't require excessive force. Instead, a gentle snugging is all it takes to bring everything together. just enough to coax out those satisfying beads of glue every woodworker yearns for. And now we begin the waiting game. Well, I do. Well, for you, time magically compresses and the glue dries instantly, allowing us to seamlessly continue on our coaster making journey. And now that they're dry, I'm sending the glued up panels through the planer to remove any unevenness and bring everything down to a final thickness of a 1/2 inch. With both sides now flat, it's time to start cutting out some coasters. So, back to the miter saw. With the coasters cut down to size, I begin refining the shape at my router table. I prefer the look of crisp, clean lines, and so I decided to go with a 45-degree chamfer on the bottom and an 1/8 inch round over on the top. Note that I deliberately begin routing every piece on the end grain first. This is so if I get any tear out while exiting cut, it'll get cleaned up when I route along the grain. Now, we arrive at a phase of woodworking that I hold closest to my heart. Sanding. Sanding smaller pieces can be difficult, so I'm throwing together a quick jig to hold the coasters in place. Since mine varied in size, I secured 2 side blocks with brad nails and used a clamp to hold the third down, making sure that the blocks were shorter in height than the coasters. Oh, and here's a pro tip. Double check that your nails aren't so long that they'll go through your jig and into your cherished workbench. I started sanding with 80 grit and then 120, first sanding the tops and bottoms with my random orbital sander, followed by hand sanding the sides and routed profiles. After sanding with 120, I wipe the coasters with some water to pop the grain. Also, this actually is one of my more favorite parts of woodworking, because I get a glimpse of what the wood's going to look like once a finish is applied. The water pop swelled tiny wood fibers on the surface, leaving it feeling rough. So, back to sanding, this time with 180 grit. This process creates an overall smoother feeling final product. Here, I'm wiping the coasters with denatured alcohol. This serves a dual purpose, to clean the wood of any lingering dust, but also any oil that could hinder the finish from penetrating the surface. And now it's time to apply the finish. I'm using Natura One Coat Clear. It's a 2-part hard wax oil that saturates into the wood, leaving a durable, stain-resistant surface without that unnatural feeling of a film finish. I like using this, one, because it smells great, but it also applies easily and really brings out the wood's natural beauty. It's also an all-natural product and VOC-free. It even tastes great. Just kidding. I mix the oil and hardener using a 3-to-1 ratio and apply with a cotton rag. I like to apply it generously and let it sit for a minute or two to absorb, and then come back with a clean rag and buff off any excess, switching out the clean rags as they become saturated. It fully cures in 7 days, and it really doesn't get much easier than that. And for the record, I'd like to clarify, I'm not sponsored by Natura. Well, at least not yet. Okay, so this just about wraps it up. 13 coasters ready for duty in my nightstands, as well as the reality of it is elsewhere because I don't normally drink tea. Um, as always, thank you. Appreciate you guys sticking to the end. Hope you got some value out of it. You know, do as you do on YouTube: like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Also, I just wanted to say I just crossed 100 subscribers yesterday, and honestly, I was blown away. I didn't think that it was going to happen so fast, but it is very inspiring to see that there's content that I'm creating that you, as YouTubers, are enjoying and appreciating. So honestly, thank you. It really drives me to put more content out, and it's just really satisfying. So I appreciate it. Till next time, this is One Handy Dude. Catch you on the next one.